Hi guys, what I'm going to talk to you about today in this video is I'm going to be talking about how you know if you're doing an actual calculation in your calculator, what place value to round to. I think probably in your math class there might just be sort of a set standard rule, round to the tenths place or round to the hundredths place. Well, in science class we need to follow a set of rules to determine what place to round to. And the first rule that I'm going to give you is the rule of rounding for a problem that is either a multiplication or division problem. And it doesn't matter if I'm multiplying just two numbers together or dividing two numbers. If I'm multiplying two numbers together and dividing by another and then multiplying by a third and then dividing by a couple other, all I'm doing is multiplying and dividing. This is the rule that I'm going to follow for what place value to round to. Your answer that you see in your calculator must be rounded to represent the least number of sig figs found in the problem. So I hope you remember from earlier today how to count how many sig figs are in any particular measured value. So let's say for whatever reason I had the number 101.325 centimeters and I wanted to multiply it by 14 centimeters. When I put this into my calculator gives me 1418.55. And if I multiply a centimeter by a centimeter, that means my unit is going to be centimeters squared. Okay, well, how am I going to round that number? Well, the first thing I need to do is I need to figure out how many sig figs are in 101.325. I hope you guys figured out that there are 6 sig figs in 101.325. If I look at 14, there are 2 sig figs in that measured value. What's the smaller number, 6 or 2? 2 is the smaller number. So what I need to do then is I need to round this number so I only have 2 sig figs there. So 1,418.55 needs to round to 1,400 centimeters squared. Sometimes what I do when I'm trying to figure out where I need to round it, what I'll do is I'll kind of box off the digits that I know need to be significant, and then everything outside of that little half box that I've drawn needs to go into become insignificant numbers. Please, please, please don't ever take a number that's like 1,418 and round it all the way down to 14. That doesn't even make sense. So make sure that you keep those insignificant zeros there. Now, sometimes when you look at an answer key, you'll notice that an answer is written in scientific notation. I could write this as 1.4 times 10 to the third centimeters squared. Either one of those are equally acceptable because they both have the same nominal value and they also both have 2 sig figs. Oh, I erased part of that. Sorry. Okay. The rule for multiplication and division, look at how many sig figs are in the things that you're multiplying and dividing. Whichever one has the least number of sig figs, that's how many sig figs need to go in your answer. So 2 sig figs is the smaller of the 2, 2 sig figs in my answer. Okay, what about a rule for if we're not multiplying and dividing? What if we're doing a problem where we're actually either doing an addition or a subtraction? Again, what place value do I round to if I'm adding or subtracting just 2 numbers together, or if I'm adding and subtracting 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, however many numbers, but if all I'm doing is adding and subtracting. In this case, I'm not going to be looking at how many sig figs there are in the number. Your answer, if you're doing addition and subtraction, has to be rounded this time. Let's get this down. Must be rounded to represent the least accurate place value. The least accurate place value. Notice I'm talking not about how many sig figs, I'm talking about the place value here. So let's say those two numbers that I had up above there that I multiplied, whoopsie, get back here. Let's say I wanted to add those two numbers. So I'm going to take 101.325 centimeters, and what I want to do is I want to add 14 centimeters to that. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to add this up in my calculator. My calculator says 115.325. A centimeter plus a centimeter is going to give me a centimeter. So, what place value? Notice that this number is significant all the way down to the 1,000th place. That's pretty accurate. Notice this number, the 14, is only accurate to the ones place. Which place value is least accurate? The ones place or the thousandths place? I hope you guys understand that it's the actual ones place that is the least accurate one. And so what I need to do is I need to round my 115.325 centimeters. I need to round it to that ones place. So I'm going to look at the digit that's just after it. We talked about rounding today as well. Because it's less than 5, what I'm going to do is I'm going to round it down to 115 centimeters. So again, I'm looking at the place value. Let's do another example here. Let's say I had something where I had 560 milliliters. Now I want you to ask yourself, is this 0 at the end, is it significant or is it not significant? Think about what we learned, that it is not a significant 0. Okay? What I want to do is I'm going to add 2.45 milliliters to it. Notice how I'm lighting up all of my place values here. So I'm going to go ahead, 562.45 milliliters. Now what I need to do, though, is I need to look at the place values. The 2.45 is accurate down to the hundredths place. 560, though, that's only accurate to the tens place. Notice that my 0 there, this 0, this is not significant. There's no decimal point there, so it is not significant. So what I'm looking at is I'm looking at the least accurate place value. I'm looking at it in yellow. It's the tens place. So believe it or not, when I round 562.45 to the tens place, I have to round it to 560 milliliters. Okay? It's almost as though I didn't even add 2.45 milliliters to it. Again, this is the rule that we use in chemistry. Let's go back up and look at our rule of multiplication and division. I call the rule of multiplication and division, I call it the rule of sig figs, because what I'm doing is I'm looking at how many sig figs are in the number, and I'm taking the least number. If I look at addition and subtraction, I call this one the rule of place value. Now, what would happen if we had a problem where we had both types of operations? What is it we're going to do there? So, for example, what if we had a problem where we had 23.5 grams and we subtracted 21.35 grams from that? And then once we subtracted it, what we wanted to do is we wanted to divide it by 1.58 centimeters cubed. So notice what I have there is I have a subtraction problem in the numerator, and then I want to take that and I want to divide it by the denominator. Well, just like what you learned in math class, order of operations, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do what's in parentheses. So if I take my 23.5 and I subtract 21.35, this equals 2.15 grams. But this is a subtraction problem. And because I'm not going to be subtracting or adding any more numbers to it, I'm done doing all the addition and subtraction. What I need to do is I need to stop and I need to round it. And remember, my addition-subtraction rule is the rule of place value. That goes to the tenths place. This one always goes to the hundredths place. The least accurate one is the tenths place. So what I need to do before I even move on and divide is I need to round it. Now again, the reason why I'm stopping and rounding before continuing my problem is because I'm changing my operation type. I had a subtraction, then what I want to do is I want to divide. You'll get a different answer if you leave 2.15 in your calculator before you divide by 1.58. You must stop and round if you're changing operation type. So now I've got 2.2 divided by 1.58. This is a division problem. It's the rule of sig figs. So I've got 2 sig figs in the value at the top. I've got 3 sig figs at the value at the bottom. So my calculator says 1.3924, just keeps going. My unit in the numerator is a gram, and the denominator is a centimeter cubed, but I need to round it. I've got 2 sig figs in the top number and 3 in the bottom number, so what I need to do is I need to round it to the first 2 sig figs. This is a case where my number after my boxing off is greater than 5, so what I need to do is I need to round this up to the 1.3924. I need to round up to 1.4 grams per centimeter cubed. So notice what we did here is, again, we talked about the rule of multiplication and division if that's all we're doing. Then we talked about the rule of addition and subtraction if that's all we're doing. And then we talked about what it happens if you have both types of your operations there, what you need to do there. Okay, make sure that you've got some good notes on this and bring to class tomorrow.